Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. We are joined by Izzy Thunder, the one and only, and he is a producer, a musician, and a buddy of mine, most and foremost, right?
Yeah,
Depending on the
definitely.
day.
Yeah. We've been through a little bit together.
Yeah. We had a lot of long nights passing out, trying to play some rock and roll at what
Yeah.
we would call quote unquote shitty bar gigs.
No, man. Those are the best crowds, I tell you.
They are, you just get some really in-depth conversations from people that are just drunk, like they look into your soul and they tell you, "Do I know you?"
Yeah,
And you're like, "No, you
I don't
don't know
think
me."
so.
I don't think so. Are you sure? Or they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Did you hear that band? They were so good." Because for those that don't know, we're in an 80s cover band and we would dress up like basically like Poison or Def Leppard or not quite Kiss, but I would say maybe Twisted Sister and Poison had a baby type of a thing. That's kind of like
Yeah.
and
The hair, the spandex, the leather sometimes. Some
it's,
other thing.
sometimes it was yeah, it just depended on the day, but you would pull that off after a gig, right? And then we would just like hang
Mm.
out, get food, and then people would not recognize us because they were so drunk, and then be like, "Where were you? Did you hear that band? They were good." Be like, "Oh yeah, tell me more." Did you tip them good? Oh no, I
Should have,
should
man. You can
have.
go back. Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm
I
sure.
know. I'll take it for you. Like,
Yeah, I know them. Oh really? Yeah, we're their roadies.
oh man.
I said that a couple times. They're like, really? Man, they're a real
Yeah.
band then. They got some roadies. Be like,
I think I
I,
said that too. Like every now and again. Like, yeah, I'm one of the rodents. Yeah, I'm just helping out.
yeah, it was good because then you wouldn't have to. They would always want to talk, and sometimes it would be fun to BS with people, but other times you're just like, dude, it's like 2 a.m. in the morning. Your
Yeah,
breath
that's what it
smells like
was.
death, and I want to go home. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
Denny's or we're going to the Belgian Waffle.
The Belge. I haven't been there in a while. That was the spot.
I
Seems like the
know,
only place besides Denny's open that late.
right? Yeah, it's a good place to fall asleep on the table. You did that many times. I remember go to the Belge, we'd be waiting for our food, and then everyone's like, "Oh, Izzy's asleep."
I'll do that sometimes to fall asleep now. Like I'll pretend I'm at a restaurant and I'll pretend I've just ordered and then I fall asleep like right away. It's magic, man.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a good tactic to to use fall asleep. I should use that. Be like, okay, I'm in a restaurant. My food isn't here yet. I'm only kind of hungry, but I'm more tired. And then just
Oh, it
boom.
was yeah, dude. I mean, it was honestly eating just to have energy to get back home. 'Cause it was always such a long drive after the gig. I'm like, man, you need something in you. It's too much.
Right, man. Well, how have you been since then? You're in California now, right?
Yeah, I'm in California. I've been here about three, four, like about coming up on 4 years now.
Dang.
I'm doing good. I'm working. I do like home maintenance right down by the beaches every day, so I get to soak up the sun and everything. And then I've just been working on music in my spare time. So
Heck
yeah,
yeah.
not much for me. How about you, man? What's been new with you?
Oh, a lot. I moved, so I was in Utah County, and
Mm,
I moved to Cottonwood Heights, kind of by like right next to Sandy, because I got a job in Park City for an audiovisual company, and primarily I sell and rent gear to groups that come through for conventions and for symposiums and um, just all these business seminars and things like that. We're getting to
dang.
the yeah, it's pretty cool. I didn't think I would switch jobs and make more money doing something that I love, where I'm just around gear, and especially like switching right away. And um, yeah, it's been a great opportunity because I can still do like freelance stuff on the side when I want to. It's pretty chill because there are some days that it's a little bit slower, and we have a group in house where this there for support if they need something, and some groups they don't need anything, and I'm caught up on my emails, I'm caught up in this and that, and so I'll
You're
be
just twiddling your thumbs. Yeah.
well, not so much. I mean, I'll play with our sound gear.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I actually yeah, I got a new sound system myself just recently too. And
Nice.
so I brought a couple speakers to work just to kind of, test some things out with. And then we
Mm.
refreshed from a group that came in. And yeah, I ordered in a new soundboard. So I have an X32 compact coming in. And then
Nice.
I got the DS or the SD16, which is the digital snake that goes along with it, 16 channel digital snake.
Nice.
And then I got two 15-inch Harbinger PA speakers, loudspeakers,
Uh,
um, which, the ones we used to use that Blake had were 12-inch speakers, like the EVs that we would use a lot of the time.
right. Those are 12s?
Yeah, those are 12. So I got 15s, and they are big. Like,
Yeah.
they're pretty heavy too. I mean, for a speaker that is, I mean, they're like about 50 pounds a piece, which isn't super heavy, but it's like heavy enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Once you're lugging them back and forth, it adds up.
yeah, they do, and I got speaker stands for them. And anyways, I Guitar Center had this deal like for the mixer. It was like $800 off. So I was like,
Damn.
"There's no way I can pass that up."
Yeah, they
So,
never have good deals like that, so I'm surprised you found a good one.
well, the only downside is so many people jumped on that everything's on back order, and so I won't get it until like the end of September. So, but I got my speakers. I just won't have the mixer. I have the snake. The snake just came today. Um, but yeah, the mixer. And I have a smaller mixer if I need to use it for other like freelancing stuff. But
Yeah,
anyways, I thought you would get a kick out of that. You
that's
know,
cool, man. Especially now that you're working for an audiovisual company, it's cool that you have like your own little setup and you kind of have that knowledge to know what to get. Like that's rad, man.
yeah, it's sick. And something I didn't know is they're called the models like the very 3415
Hmm.
speakers, and they actually have a built-in mixer in the back of each of them. So you don't need a
Really?
mixer. You can plug in a microphone straight into it, and then you just
Yeah.
switch this little switch to a microphone, and then you can just use that as a mic, or you can switch it to guitar. You can play guitar straight through it, or just a normal line, or you can switch it to be a main or a monitor. Your PAs.
Wow.
So,
A
anyways,
lot of versatility, it sounds like. That's cool.
yeah, and of course I got the cases for it because
Yeah, you
yeah,
gotta get the cases. Yeah.
yeah. Well, what's the point in buying something if you're just gonna get scuffed up super easy, And
Yeah, especially with live gear because you're carrying it around all like live gear is always different than studio gear because you are moving it. You know, somebody somewhere is going to put a drink on it of some kind because they think it's just like a little drink stand. But there's it, yeah. So you always got to get cases just to protect stuff like that because
oh yeah.
it's expensive. It's crazy.
So tell me about your gear because you've been doing some producing, right? And what have you been working on? Like what projects you working on? If you can tell, unless it's a secret.
They're all secret. They're so top secret.
Oh,
I don't
dang
even
it.
know about them. No, I've been working on a couple different projects, especially while I've been out in LA. I've done a good amount of work recording and then live with an artist named Travis Frank, who I haven't worked with in a while, but I did quite a few shows with him, and I produced a song with him, and then there was this other group, Silvara, that I was playing drums for and kind of recording as well, but mainly like playing live shows. So a lot of my time was spent working on those projects when I first moved. Um, but more recently, I've just been working on like my own either more original stuff or then just more like actual cover band stuff. You know, I've been doing a lot more shows where it's a lot more cover songs, but it's like longer sets. I've been playing like 2 hour sets pretty regularly lately, and
Nice.
so I've been kind of branching out, trying to move back to the 4 hour set list that we used to play.
Oh
So
man. Yeah,
uh,
do you miss those 4 hour gigs?
I mean, when you're 3 hours in, you definitely don't miss them. But when you're years past them, like I've definitely looked back and not only missed like a lot of the fun that I feel like I had, but I feel like I learned quite a bit from the gear perspective, but also just from like the musicianship. Like I've told so many people even out here how I always thought it was cool that whether it was like Steel Badger or I'm trying to remember some of the names of Blake's other black tie groups, but I was like, it was
Oh,
cool that we
Sonic
could always
Groove or
Sonic Groove. That was the one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But I thought it was always cool that we could get together and not always have a lot of rehearsals, but just have the musicianship to show up and play a really good show. And there's also, I mean, you see all the drunk people, but then you see people who haven't had a single drop, and both sets of people are having such a great time. Like, I don't know, like as much as I love working on originals and recording, like there just isn't anything that really comes as close to that. So I think I've
yeah,
missed that quite a bit and been trying to get back into it slowly but surely while I'm working. So yeah, but it's been a lot here and there, but just kind of working on a lot of different stuff within the studio, trying to test out sounds, whether it's more rock or even like synth based stuff. I've really tried to push myself to get more cozy with things so that as I have people approach me wanting to work on projects, I'm like more knowledgeable about a genre and can actually help bring their ideas to life. So
heck
yeah,
yeah, dude.
man, it's been busy, but it's been worth it.
Oh,
So
well, they say you don't really learn when you're in the comfort zone, right? So like
mm,
when you kind of throw yourself out doing all these different things, sometimes you're like, "Ooh, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna try it. We'll see what happens." And
mm,
that's where you grow the most, right? And like, you were just talking about like all the different groups, that from Black Tie Booking, and then also just like the '80s group and groups that we played in together. Um, yeah, there were times like we were just like full send it. Like someone would be like, "Hey, does anyone know this song?" And like half of us were like, kind of."
yeah,
And we'd just go for it. And then sometimes it would be like, we'd pat ourselves on the back and be like, now that was some good BSing right there.
yeah.
And then other times we're like, let's never do that again.
There were definitely some songs that we learned like in the manager's office when they on a break or something like, yeah, well, I guess we'll listen to it. And then we all passed around someone's phone and we're like, yeah, I think I can do that. And then we went out there and actually tried to look at it. It's
Yeah.
amazing, man. It's fun.
Oh, I mean, and to your point, like being around musicians that could do something like that, or at least attempt it, and like somewhat pull it off, even if it wasn't perfect, but everyone had a good time. Like that's key, right? Like especially in the party band scene where people are paying you a lot of money just to put on a show, right? And you'll be like, all right, let's if this kind of goes bad and we lose the form, let's improv it and go into something else or make it kind of interesting, like and
Yeah.
it was it's fun. And I think unless you become a big artist, like you were saying, you don't really ever get that same like feeling from people in an audience that like know and love these renowned songs. Like, anytime you play Don't Stop Believing, everyone's like, wow, yeah, they get all excited about it. But when you're playing an original song that maybe 20 people have heard or 50 people or whatever it is, and it's like a good song, and you get a couple people hyped about it, but it's not a song everyone knows the words to that can sing. You're just not going to
Yeah.
get you know, the same reaction until you get to a certain musicianship or renowned, right? You get known enough, where everyone in the crowd sing your song and they love it. Like, do you remember the guys from Cardinal Bloom?
I do, yeah. I've kind of followed them on and off for for a while. I mean, I played drums with them for a short minute there when they were first kind of starting up. But I've kind of just like seen little social media posts that they've had ever since, and they seem like they're doing pretty well. They seem like they're still going and kicking ass and doing their thing, so it's cool.
Yeah, they are, and they're like the velour band right now.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah. So everyone knows their name when they have breaks between like different things. They'll play their songs in the background, and they
Mm,
always sell out at the velour. And they've done, I don't know how many tours they've done now, but they've done a couple different tours, like a West Coast, and I think they may have done an East Coast one now. I can't remember, but like,
wow.
yeah, I've gone to a lot of their shows, and they have one song on Spotify called "She's Just a Friend,"
Oh,
and
nice.
it's hit millions of views or streams
Yeah.
now. It's they're one of those groups where um you know venues in Utah that know them know they can sell out, and like people, everyone in the audience is singing, right? Like any show I've gone to, like they have such a big following now. It's gotten to
Mm,
that point that even if they're singing like another song, like maybe maybe they pulled out like another pretty famous song and people would get that reaction, but people are just psyched about their songs now.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
so cool, man.
yeah, it's been
I
cool
love
to see
that.
that transition. And yeah, I mean they're all homies, right? Studied
Yeah,
music with them, played with them, and so it's cool to see people start to kind of go up that ladder, right? And it takes years. It really does as an original band to get play enough shows for people to start to dig you and like make enough relationships, connections, get more chops, as they say, write more music. Um,
yeah.
have you ever been to? It's a pretty big festival in Utah. It's called, and I'm wearing the hat. Let's see, it's um, Fork Fest. Fork Fest. You ever hear?
Forkfest.
Yeah,
It relatively, like, vaguely rings a bell, but I don't know if I've ever been. For as much music that I've worked on, I've been to very little shows that I wasn't playing in. So
I
I'm
get it.
very
I get it.
uncultured like that. But
I yeah, I mean, I just had lots of friends playing it and stuff, and I like to be on the know-how, and
yeah,
uh, I mean, there's definitely a lot more shows I could be, so I don't think I'm like much better. Like I go to shows, but like I like to be involved, right? Like I like to do the planning or somehow being involved with the sound or whatever, even if I'm not
right.
playing. But it's a big festival they do every year in the summer in American Fork, and it's all outdoors.
Oh,
And they have three different stages. They have the forest stage, which is more like acoustic stuff and things of that nature, and then they have the mountain stage, which is like the biggest stage, I believe. And then they have like one other stage, I think. Yeah, they're two pretty big ones. I forget what it's called. Um, but anyways, thousands and thousands of people. It's like one of the bigger festivals I've seen in Utah, a music
yeah.
festival, and it's going strong.
An
And
American Fork, you said?
an American Fork, yeah, it's like kind of
Hmm.
by the canyon a little bit, or it's not by the canyon. It's well, kind of. It's this by this. It's in this park, and like the forest stage is like you go down this little hill, and it's like in a forest, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
such a cool little, like, backdrop to have music in. That's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool, man. I'm
It,
surprised I haven't heard of that before.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many years they've done it now, but it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff like that I like to follow and lately I've kind of gotten more involved in like knowing about the big festivals they do in Park City because now I work in Park City. They
Yeah,
do this
you're up there.
Yeah, they do this thing called Forum Fest and then there's something called the Song Summit um basically festival and they have a bunch of musicians play up there and yeah, it's cool. I love going to those things, and I was able to go to the Forum Fest thing this year, and they had a big drone show at the end, but they had a huge stage, and yeah, some old timers, and it's on a mountain, so you sit on a mountain, like it's like a almost like a natural amphitheater type of deal, right? And
Yeah.
it's really cool. So if you're ever in
I'll,
the
I'll,
area,
I know. Next time I'm in Utah, whenever it's going on, I'll have to make sure I'm coming out and time it right so I can come check it out, man.
yeah, let me know. We can go. Um,
Yeah, I'm down, man.
you'll probably know people playing in it, like or heard of a band at least in it, because there's so many groups, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty dope. That's what
Yeah.
I'll say about that. That's my promotion for the day.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
not
down, man. I'm
sponsored
down. We'll
by
go.
Fork Fest, but if whoever's listening, if they want to sponsor me, I we can have that conversation. So.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
So, what would you say the genre of music that you're like? Okay, I know you're saying you work on covers and stuff, but like for your personal stuff, um, are you doing any like original stuff that you would kind of describe as a certain type of genre, or is it more really just the kind of the cover stuff right now?
No, I mean, especially recently, like when I sit down and I'm working on something that's got a goal behind it, because I have songs that are almost done that I just kind of worked on for the sake of writing, but I didn't have like a direction for them or anything. I don't even know where to use them. But
Yeah,
lately, I've had a collection of like 9 or 10 songs, just about that. They're more verging on like hard rock to metal almost, but it's like the goal is to try and get a heavier sound without having to have such a heavy vibe to it. So like a lot of the heaviness is really just coming from the fact that you have a lower tuned guitar. It's not necessarily that the style of the song is very aggressive. It's just that it's like it's got an ass on it. Like it just sounds bigger, right? And
Okay, yeah.
then like I utilize like part part guitar amps and part bass amp for a lot of the sounds because you just get a little bit of both. You blend them together, and then it just gives you a very full guitar sound. And then you add basses and everything. So I've been working on stuff that's like I said, like a little bit like more hard rock, but then like some of the songs are definitely metal just because of the sound and the style of the playing, whether it's guitar or drums. Like there's definitely a lot more angst and energy behind it, but it's not really meant to be super aggressive as far as like lyrical content or like even melodies. It's mainly just about the sound of the instruments itself. So it's been quite an interesting ride trying to blend it all together like that. But I've got at least two songs that are pretty close to being ready to be released as singles. and
Okay, okay.
I mean they're pretty fun because they have that heavy sound, but it's still like just catchy enough that even somebody that had never listened to a metal song would be like, "Hey, that was bad." Like I would actually listen to more of that, even if it's not their main. They're not super into metal now. Like they just like that one particular kind of song or sound. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it once I get the time to really finish a lot of them because it'll just stem from different riffs and ideas that I have as I'm playing on some of the gear. That's where a lot of it comes from is I'll just be setting up the gear, and one of the singles that I have been working on, it literally stemmed out of a riff idea that I just recorded on my iPhone microphone because
Yeah.
just on my voice memos. I was like, I had everything set up in the room, and I'm like, I want to check out what this sounds like. And as I was playing, I kind of came upon this riff. And you know how like you kind of just find something you like and you just play it over and over so you don't forget it. And so I'd been doing that, and then I just put my phone down and recorded it. And as I listened back to it, I'm like, that's actually a pretty good structure. And so I can just dub guitars and do everything to that rather than let me start fresh, recorded from scratch. It's like I'll just use that rough take because it's actually a pretty good arrangement. So a lot of these songs have kind of come from a more like bare bones approach to songwriting, but I feel like I've enjoyed it a lot more. So I've been a lot more focused trying to finish those up and actually get them released. So it's
Heck
cool.
yeah, man. That sounds like an awesome project you've been working on. And so with that, I'm gonna ask you when is it gonna be released? When's the first song? And was it gonna be under like the name?
Uh,
Is it gonna be Izzy Thunder?
it's not going to be Izzy Thunder for a while now. I've been trying to think of the best name to release that kind of stuff under, especially like you got a heavy sound, but not necessarily heavy everything else. I guess heavy vibe. So I've been named this project Hug, like
Hug.
HU double G, but the second G, as you know, was silent.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I do know.
Jack's the second X is silent. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd
So
add two, or three. Be like the
yeah.
first two or something. Whatever. So dumb.
No, but I mean, I kept trying to think of a good name, and I'm like, I mean, that's cool if you can name a band Hug and have people saying, "Hey, I really like Hug," because it's automatically such a positive message. But then you put the music on, and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's what Hug is. Like, that's really cool."
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's an interesting idea. I mean, I would have to hear it, but
yeah, yeah, I can
okay.
send you some demos sometimes. So you can check them out.
Yeah, dude, yeah. So what are you estimating you would get the first single out? Yeah, you got to have a deadline, man, or else you
Oh,
never
yeah,
release it.
exactly. Yeah, that's where I've been at. I mean, I think within the next couple of months. I mean, especially with one of them, I predominantly tracked it at my friend's studio, but he lives up Van Nuys, I think is where he's at. So it's above LA. It's just it's just traffic and time getting all the way up there. And
Yeah.
I've been out of the country, I've been on vacation, I've been working, so it's just been hard to get up there and finish it. Because he's added a couple of things, and then just the final touches. So that one probably sooner. I mean, maybe in the next couple of months or so. But it's all slow moving when I can't get to places as fast as I'd like. But
Yeah.
with a lot of the other ones that I can actually track at home at my studio, I can release those a lot faster. But it's just the time rather than driving. It's the same amount of time just sitting down and doing the, the actual engineering on on those. That's been, I think, where most of my time's been placed is like I'll perform all of the tracks as the musician, but then I'm like, man, I gotta go sit down for like another 4 hours just to do all the edits and make everything sound super solid. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's time consuming, but I'll get you a single here shortly. Don't you
Okay.
worry.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
feed you, baby bird.
Oh yeah, no, I just haven't heard stuff from you in a while, and yeah, I am in the same boat with because I have some projects that I've been working on, but
Mhm,
I get too many things going on. I try to focus on right now. The main thing I'm focusing on is getting this podcast just consistent,
mhm,
um, and then I work for like the last month and a half. It was like the busiest time of the year for us,
mhm.
and
With
made the
like
most.
summer.
Yeah, yeah. Made the
Yeah.
most revenue that we have had since I've been the director. The last couple of months have been really good, and so that's been good. But also with that, for about a month, my assistant was out, and so I was pulling like 16-hour days, and it's a lot. And then I've been trying to work out, but then like when you're that tired and stuff, it's like anti-productive, or it's not as productive to go to the gym because then only a couple hours of sleep, then do another 16-hour day. So I've been
Yeah.
getting back into it now that he's back, and
Mhm.
it's starting to slow down a little bit, which is good.
Nice.
But I've just had a lot of different things. I've been working on. I've been getting ready for this trip I'm going to in Washington for a conference, and then buying my sound gear. And then
Yeah.
doing the side things. I was able to run sound for something. It was a city festival in Riverton, and I wasn't
Oh,
even
nice.
like hired for it really.
Yeah.
So, um, Talon was playing in it, a group that he was playing with, and their sound guy couldn't show up for whatever reason. I don't know the whole story. And
Hey, he doesn't get out of bed for less than a minute.
no, that's Chris, right?
Oh yeah.
Watch, he's gonna watch this and be like, "Those bastards."
Yeah.
But no, that's what he
Advertising
said.
my rate.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is though, nowadays too, like listening back to that, like at the time we were just like, "Oh, whatever."
Yeah.
But now I'm like, yeah, some of our rates now, like, yeah, it makes sense, especially if you have other stuff going on. But it was just funny how he like worded it, and we're just like, all
Yeah.
right, man, all right. And he,
That's cool. Like you said you were down, but I guess not. Like that's fine.
yeah, yeah, it's one of those things, and it's like if it's homies or someone
Yeah.
that you supposedly are friends with, right? Like, I think, in my opinion, um, you help them out, and if they're in the music world too, they're gonna return the favor most likely, in some way. Maybe they play a gig for you for free, or they help you do a setup just because they're homies, like um,
Yeah.
that's at least how the community. I don't know how the community is in California, but at least here, that's one thing. I mean, and there's definitely different parts of the community, right? So let's get that clear.
Yeah.
But
That's true. Yeah.
the people in my network and people I went to school with and people I played with, for the most part, they're all very like accommodating and like everyone looks out for each other for the most part and helps. Like, oh, they think of this person for a gig or they think of this person for an opportunity, and then everyone kind of like cheerleads each other on. They promote each other's stuff, and
Yeah.
there's usually not hard feelings, even if
Right.
someone's doing better, unless someone's just very unprofessional and treats people like crap. Then that
Yeah.
gets known very quick. They stop getting gigs, right?
Right.
Uh, but there is a community also, like in the Salt Lake area, I would say a little bit more, where they're not as known, and they have this reputation. Like I tried to start a band in 2022,
Hmm.
and this guy was like a drummer, And he was like, "Hey, I want to be in your group." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna rent out this place." So I was paying out of pocket for this rental space because I wanted to get this group going. And I got a couple other homies. And the first rehearsal, I had like told them we would, okay, we're meeting at this time. I told them, "Hey, I'm renting it out with my own money, so we all need to make sure we're there." And he never shows up. Never shows up. And then he ends up like he told me, "Yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there." The days before, like the day before, and everything, like a couple days before after that, because I kept checking up with him because I didn't know him as well. And I
Right.
just met him on one of those like forums on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
And then like he stops. He like I can see he's reading my messages on Facebook, but not responding to me and stuff. And
Yeah.
then like just doesn't show up, and then ends up like blocking me on Facebook. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like,
It is.
so it was me and a bass player and another guitar player, and long story short, that group didn't work out just because I ended up having other stuff go like happen and with work and life, and some
Yeah.
of the other people. But it was just one of those things. I'm just like, man, he's on my blacklist. Like,
Yeah.
I am never like if I hear that name, I'm gonna let people know, hey, like he's flaky. He is not professional. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, because if you never want to be that person, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you do meet someone that is that way, it's your responsibility to let other people know, and they can decide if they want to take it with a grain of salt or not. And
Yeah.
not so much like you want to go out of their way, your way to like ruin their reputation, but like if someone like brings up their name, you're like, oh, just so you know, this was my experience with them, so hopefully they're
Yeah.
not the same, like
Right.
because there were some musicians in college that were like on my blacklist and Blake's blacklist that were because they were flaky, but now they've been reliable for other people,
Right.
or they learned how to fix that part of them because they started to lose gigs or whatever.
Yeah. Or they started getting gigs they wanted and like, oh, I'm gonna lose it if I don't. So they kind of learn almost vicarious or not vicariously, but just like through the process of getting the gig they want and they have to scramble to kind of learn professionalism right in that moment. Like,
Oh
'cause
yeah.
I agree. Like, I even at college, like I feel like I met people that like you can tell without a doubt that they've got talent. They're gifted, whatever they are playing. But when you're just so difficult to work with, like that can be the deciding factor that really determines whether you have success or not. Because if nobody wants to work with you, you're not really going to get a chance to show people what you can do. So there's the musicianship, but then there's also the teamwork and like the camaraderie that you have to learn as well in order to be a good player on stage, but then to actually get gigs, like it's definitely twofold for sure. So
Oh yeah. It's not just the music either. Like you want to be the guy or the girl that like people enjoy being around too. Like at the end of
yeah,
the day, because like even if you aren't quite as good as someone else, but you have that like trait, that personality that people like. You know what? We like to hang out with so because they're fun and they're good, easy to get along with. Are they the best
mm,
musician and are they best guitarist? Are they best bassist, singer, whatever? No, but they are willing to put in the work and
yeah,
they're fun to be around. So I'd rather pick that guy 99% of the time rather than that 1% of the time to pick the guy that's better but unreliable because then you get gigs, they're not showing up on time. And
yeah,
yeah, maybe they shred when they are there, but then it's just like stressful all the time to get them together. And like, then it looks bad
yeah,
for you if you're like, let's say you're hired for a corporate gig, you're supposed to start at 8 o'clock or sound check by 7, go on at 8, and your lead guitarist doesn't show up. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll sound check him real quick, like, or his,
yeah,
but it's not going to be what he wants. And then he's rolling in and you have to start a little bit late or you start without him and you have to like change your set list. Like, those things just aren't professional and you shouldn't have to do those things. And
yeah.
so, yeah, it's,
Especially nowadays when people have the option to just like, oh, we'll get a DJ or we'll just put on like Spotify or something. Like because they have an option of choosing a live band or live group, like I feel like a lot more players have to take that seriously and that like you were chosen to play at this gig, so you should like take it seriously enough that whoever's paying you feels like I got my money's worth out of this, like it was worth hiring that group over just hiring a DJ because you get you get exactly what you paid for, you get more. And if you have a great group, then it's like those are the kind of moments that for like weddings or parties or anything, people always remember they had this really, really good band. Everybody loved them the whole time. Like even there was, I played this little music festival that one of my coworkers' family they've been putting it on for like the past 9, 10 years, something like that.
That's
I think this
sick.
year was the 10th year, and they were telling me that the last group that went on, I can't even remember their name, but they had been there 2 or 3 years, I think, by this point. And he's like, we keep asking them to come back because they always just have so much energy, and they're playing covers. They're not playing all originals, but
Yeah.
just like the sound, the energy, it's all there. And they show up, they sound check, like you can just tell that they're tight on stage. When they're off stage, you can just really tell that difference. And so those are the groups that people always call to come back. It's not somebody that's strolling in and like, hey, yeah, whatever, man. Like,
Right. Yeah. Like,
so
I'm too cool for you guys anyways, but I'll play for you, I guess.
yeah,
Those
no, it's
guys.
all about attitude.
Oh my gosh. Like, I think we have all met someone that just their attitude like is so off-putting, and like they have like this god complex, where they're like, I am the best musician you've ever seen. And
Yeah.
like no one wants to play with those, even if they are really good. Like
Mm,
no one wants to play with those people. And sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't, or I think most of the time they're going to hinder themselves on their growth of how far they can go if they have that attitude. and
yeah.
and some people, it takes them until they become famous and popular, and then they start acting that way, and that usually is an indication that their career is going downhill. So
Right. Yeah. Well,
but
I think you always find that it's the. Oh, sorry. It's always the musicians that don't look like they've got any business being as good as they are. Like you would not be able to pick them out in the crowd and say like you're an amazing violinist, but like those are the kind of people that when they actually sit down and play their instrument, they're the ones that are just tearing it up because like they're not they're not limiting themselves by saying I already know a lot, I'm already the best. They're just like, hey, I'm just here doing my thing, and then because they're always striving to get better. Like they just always blow you away. Like I remember even at college, some of the better musicians I saw, people I wouldn't have even expected to be able to play like that. Like remember Justin? I think is his name.
Justin
Justin
Clark.
is it Justin Clark? Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
had
love
like a
Justin.
gray Les Paul. I didn't know him that well personally, but I was always really impressed because he was just this really chill guy, like saying hey to everybody, hey, what's going on, man? But then when he'd play, he was just ripping solos. That even me on a good day when I had practiced something, I'm like, there's some solos I could limp through, but I'm like, he could do it with his eyes closed. I was always just so impressed because I never expected that he'd be able to play like he does. But as
Yeah.
I've played more and more, even out here, like the musicians that are always just really chill, like yeah, they're just strolling in, they're not really drawing attention to themselves, but they get up on stage, boom, they're like center stage. You know that they're there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely the way to go when you're
No, it
trying to do
is.
music.
Yeah, and he's such a wholesome person too. Like,
Yeah.
he's such a homie. He would always call people Master So and So. He'd be like Master Domo or Master. It, yeah, I think he just got engaged actually. But
Oh, really?
he's really big in the Nashville scene right now, and so yeah, he's playing a lot of country, and yeah, he's a homie. That reminds
Yeah.
me, I'll have to get him on the podcast sometime and be like, guess
You
who
should, yeah.
suggested you, Mister Izzy Thunder.
Yeah, get all of his expertise. I mean, because I'll definitely watch that episode because I don't know. Like I said, I don't know him that well, so I'll glean whatever knowledge I can if you get him on the show.
All right, well, we'll see what we can do for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Dang, yeah, man, there are so many that just bringing up him and then other musicians I'm thinking about. There is honestly a lot of musicians just like at my time at Snow, and then also just performing with our band and the people we like, interact with that were solid musicians, and like some have gone on to do really awesome things. And um, I'm just thinking like there's that group of girls that went to Snow that have started. They started that string effect group. I don't.
Yeah, I didn't know any of them personally, but I think I'm friends with one or two of them. So I see their updates quite a bit. I'm like, that's always so cool. Like they sound really, really good. So it
Yeah,
is, like you said, it's cool to see them just doing their thing and success with it. Like, it's
yeah.
awesome.
It's unique, and I think they've been doing stuff with Lindsey Sterling as well. And yeah, I saw something on social media where they were playing with her, and I was like, that's just awesome. It's cool
Yeah,
to see how many people that you've come in interaction with and see them to make it and to be successful. And yeah, to me it's always like exciting because
yeah,
for me, um, it's always good motivation for me to work harder. But then like it's never a thing of like jealousy. It's always a thing of like I'm just like proud that they're doing so well. It's exciting.
mm,
And yeah, man, I don't know. It makes me happy to see people succeed, especially friends. Like
yeah,
if I were to see you next week, on the news, and you're just like number top artist or whatever, you had a song go viral, TikTok or something, whatever, maybe I'd be like,
yeah,
hell yeah, let's go. you know?
yeah. Well, it's cool to see people really succeeding when you can tell that they're just working on a project that they really love. Like they're not doing it to succeed, but they're doing it because they enjoy it, and they're subsequently having the success. I always love seeing people like that, where it just feels like there's like an authenticity to it. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's like when the artist feels invested in their art, then it's easier for you as the listener to feel more invested, you know? So like
No,
if
100%.
somebody's focused on that rather than making it, then you're gonna be able to tell the difference between that and then somebody who's definitely trying to get on TikTok and like get views and streams and everything. Like I don't know, I think it makes a difference even if it doesn't feel like it right away. Like people can tell when they listen to you or see you perform. Like there's definitely a difference between the two approaches. So
Oh yeah. And I mean, most famous people that are like wholesome famous people, they usually say like the best part of like the craft was the journey to get to becoming famous. Not that they don't enjoy being famous and the money and the stuff that comes with it, but like the best part is like just doing the craft, right? And like
mm,
you kind of it's easier when you're not famous to give more of yourself into your craft
mm,
because it's like it's just authentic, right? Like, but when you start to get a point, a certain level, there's different pressures from maybe sponsors or this or that, and then
yeah,
you don't have to like work as hard because you're not like, oh man, I need another paycheck, I need another paycheck. You're like, oh, I'm doing fine. I got 3 houses in California, whatever.
yeah,
So it's like it almost makes you have to work harder. Um,
yeah,
which is it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I think there is a time in your life, no matter what you're doing, that is really important to just hustle.
yeah,
Hustle as hard as you can because you enjoy it, not because you have to make it, because you want to make it, and that you will make it because you'll stick to it. And then at the end
yeah,
of the day, you'll get to that point. You'll be like, man, I remember many nights staying up super late, um, trying to edit this or play this show or learn this song or whatever, travel to this place. Like for me,
yeah.
there's been times I've had to record a podcast episode the day before I'm supposed to release it. And I'm like, and then like
Oh yeah,
up to the night, I'm, because I released it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube, all three of those. And then
yeah,
sometimes, you have to go and upload it to those things and make
yeah.
sure they get released at the right time. And so there's been a couple times I'm doing that and I'm like, but I enjoy it. This is so fun, just like catching up with people and like talking music and
Yeah.
anything worth doing isn't supposed to be easy, right?
Definitely, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I've seen I can't even remember who the quote was by, but it like roughly equates to like life is going to be hard or you're going to feel pain with something either way, but you kind of get to decide what kind of hard or what kind of pain you want. Like working hard, it's still going to be hard. Like it's not implying that working hard it's something you love is going to be super easy. Like even with a lot of the gear stuff I've learned in the studio context, I've learned because I was the one that like personally got under the desk and was like setting it all up. If something didn't work, you have to troubleshoot it. And that's not fun. Like that's not what
No.
you lie there and dream about when you're thinking about, oh, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it because I sat there and spent hours plugging stuff in.
No,
Like it's
yeah.
not fun, but it definitely is worth it because now if I even something like I don't have the right cable, I'm just more adept at like, oh, I can route this way or we can do it this way where we can still work, but it's just slightly different than just doing it the easy way. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't spent all of that time actually doing that hard work and kind of figuring out those things because it takes a lot of time, but
Oh yeah.
it's worth it at the end, because you have the achievement, but then you build a lot of strength and knowledge in something by getting challenged at it. So
Oh yeah. You
that's
learned a new
that's
skill, like the best lessons you learn are sometimes the most uncomfortable ones. Like,
yeah,
like there's been times running sound, there's been a mistake on something. I'm like, well, that's a lesson learned, um
yeah,
or whatever the case may be, it's sometimes you got to crash and burn, but figure it out and just try to do
hmm
the best you can. And then, like you said, you got that knowledge now, and it isn't going to be comfortable a lot of the times. And I think that's normal. If you're the type
yeah,
of person that everything has to be comfortable, good luck, so.
right. Oh yeah, especially in music, like just the fact that you can spend so much time learning your instrument, but that doesn't prep you for when you have like technical difficulties on stage. And
Nope.
even if somebody's trying to figure it out, you got to stand there and figure out what to do with yourself. And if you got to figure it out yourself, like there's a whole art to learning how to do those things, and it's never comfortable. But like if you're willing to kind of submit yourself to those situations and then kind of stay calm and try to work it through, like you can learn so much and grow so much from where you just were. So
Oh yeah.
it's definitely worth it for sure.
Yeah, no, that reminds me of we had a band and a music artist. I'm not gonna say his name. But he was performing up in Park City, and he's just like a little 1 to 2 man person. He's pretty big on YouTube actually, and he had this pedal, and the pedal is like a snare. It's like he'd do it with his foot,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and it's like very specially made and ordered from like a different country and stuff. And he had like sent it in like 2 or 3 times previous because he was having issues with it, and this was the last time it was supposedly working perfect. And then he
Mhm.
plugged it in, and it was sounding like shit. Like it,
Yeah.
it sounded so bad, and like he was like, and he was having like a heart attack almost. Not really, but like you could tell he was very frustrated and stuff on stage.
Yeah.
And so me and my technician were like trying to figure out what we could do for him. So we had to try to EQ it the best we could to make it sound a little bit better because there was only the low end was coming in, and like there was no
Oh,
snap at the end, like they were supposed to be. And
yeah.
so we're like, well, we'll see what we can do. And then some of their gear just wasn't working, and it was one of those things. So we tried to like substitute what we had, and even though like they didn't rent everything from us, where I was like, hey, let's see what we can do. And
Mhm.
um, but we got it working, and they ended up actually sounding really good. Later, like a front of house, he couldn't hear his pedal too well for whatever reason, but like we were able to EQ it enough that you couldn't like unless you knew there was something wrong with it, beforehand, you wouldn't notice, right?
Right.
Um, but he knew, right? And so he was a little frustrated by it. But like then the bassist brought his bass guitar and it wasn't working. Like
Oh,
there was
get
something
all.
wrong with his input jack was like messed up. And so he'd be playing kind of in the groove and barely moving. He would like go out.
Yeah.
And so then he had to rush like an hour away to go get another bass and another one of his basses. And so it was one of those things that, and I felt for them, luckily they had enough time to like do that before the actual show happened. But
Right.
like I've been in situations where I'm like rushing before and like stressing, I'm like, oh crap. Like I've broken strings before, like right before, and I'm like, well, that's why I always have 2 guitars. I'd have a backup guitar, and I'd my main guitar. I'd have my Firebird, and
Yeah.
then I'd have like some kind of Ibanez as my secondary. And
Yeah.
I didn't have to use the Ibanez very often, but occasionally, like I don't remember if you know remember this show, but I can't remember where it was. But I was playing my guitar, and my strap just ripped out of my guitar, and so I like got down on my knees. I was like playing it on my knee for a while.
Oh, vaguely. Like this vaguely sounds.
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
just
this
like
like a sports bar that was like in Draper or something?
I think so. Yeah, and I was like, freak,
Can't remember
like
the name. The
it,
Leatherheads, is that the
it
place
may have been
called?
Leatherheads.
The
Yeah,
Leatherheads?
we
Yeah,
played
I've
there a
played there
couple.
once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the owner's name is Jay. It's moved a couple times,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I actually saw just another side story. But like me and Blake saw Winger at Leatherheads.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we saw them live, and let me tell you
Dang.
what, this was in 2017. They kicked ass. Like they were
Yeah, they
so
still got it?
tight. They were so tight. Yeah, and his voice was so good, and they were yeah, like that. That was a cool experience. And Blake actually got to play bass with them up on stage. He was like, "Does anyone know how to play bass?" And no one was raising their hands. So Blake was like, "Oh, I know how to play bass."
Of
And then
course, Blake was raising his hand.
yeah, and so he goes up on stage. I think he still has that video. I recorded a video of him playing up on stage, and they
Yeah.
played man, what song was it? There's like a 3 chord song. Man, I can't remember. Blake would probably remember, but anyways, it was sick, and yeah. But I just remember that being like a show where I'm like, man, these guys, they still got it. And
Yeah.
anyways, I don't know how I got to that. Probably just because we brought up Leatherheads, but it was packed. It was so packed, and that was pretty cool. But anyways, yeah. So going back to the strap of my guitar falling off,
Oh, yeah.
it ripped off, and if I didn't have like a backup guitar, I would have like I don't know what I would have had like hold it really awkward, playing it the rest of the night, which would
Yeah.
have been no bueno. So luckily, I just like was like, all right, I'm gonna like next song. Like when it happened, I was playing, and Blake came up to me and was like rocking out, but he didn't realize because I was on one knee, right, like playing, and he didn't realize that had happened, so he thought I was just like getting into it.
Yeah.
And then like right before the next song goes, I like whispered, I like yelled into his ear. I'm like, dude, my guitar strap broke. Stall for a minute.
Yeah.
And then so Jordan started like playing something, or I think, or whatever. And anyways, yeah. I can't.
So,
Yeah. That was that's happened to me twice with that guitar. It's just such a heavy guitar that
yeah.
it's a lot of weight on it. But if I never had a backup guitar, whether it was breaking a string, my strap breaking, or getting ripped out of the body, I would have been
Mm.
like hosed. So, but I wasn't the only one that had a backup guitar. I had a backup guitar, and then Blake sometimes would play guitar, right? And so he would have his. And then I
Was
think George.
Cherry versus Les Paul?
Yes, yes. So I had to play. There was one time, I think it was early on with the band in college days still, and something happened. I think I broke a string, and I was like, shoot. And then Blake's like, here, take my guitar. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And yeah, it was good times.
Yeah.
We got to get
Well, I
all
remember
those.
I usually I would bring two as well most of the time.
Yes, yeah, I
Like
remember.
I had like an SG for a while. The Les Paul that I use for most of the time, I still have it.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's still going. Yeah, I put a Bigsby tremolo on the end of it
Oh,
and everything,
nice.
so it's looking a little bit more like a Gretsch these days. But
Yeah.
it's still going, man. It's been in a
Heck
car
yeah.
wreck. It's the headstock has been broken, but it's still soldiering on, man. It's a workhorse for sure. So
Dang. Yeah, I still got my Firebird. It's actually right behind this. Um, and then I have two Ibanez's. I think one is like I forget the brand of it. It's like a more expensive Ibanez. It's like I can't remember the exact model. So I'm going
mm,
blank, but it was probably about a $600 guitar or something like that. A little bit nicer. Normal
mhm.
Ibanez's are like $200 to $300. Like
Yeah,
they're the Geos or whatever, Geo
right.
series. But for some things they're fine. Like
Yeah,
as a backup guitar, they ain't gonna sound super amazing, but
I mean, they do the job. Yeah, they work. So
oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, yeah. I'm excited to hear your music, and you got to
yeah,
keep me in the loop on that for sure.
yeah, I definitely will, man. I'll send you some demos, and then in the next couple months here, once I get things a little more figured out with my buddy, at least have one of them pretty much ready to go. So I'm excited for it. But stay
Sweet.
tuned.
Yeah, you should keep me in tune. Are you going to be coming to Utah anytime? We got to get the homies back together.
I think I'm coming back into town for October.
Okay, okay.
So maybe if I could see everybody at some point when I'm in town, we'll see. If
Stay
not,
tuned. Yeah,
yeah.
what we should do is just plan a trip for everyone to meet at the Belge.
Oh
That would
man,
be so sick.
that'd be pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because it was I think it was last year, maybe the year before. There was one year I flew in to play a show over Halloween. Like I was coming in anyway, but I can't remember if it was you or Blake. Somebody was like, "Hey, are you going to be in town at all? Like, do you want to come play the show?" It was down in snow. It
Oh
was like
yeah, yeah. I remember
in
that.
the apartment
Park
complex.
Place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you guys are ever playing a Halloween show, let me know. I'll bring a wig.
All right. Yeah, we haven't played since then, I think.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'll definitely keep in the loop. I know everyone's so busy. Like, so Jordan, he has like a new stage name, and he does DJing. Actually, I don't know if you follow him still on anything. And he's
I've seen like things here and there.
Saucy is the name.
Saucy, yeah.
Yeah, and he was on the podcast, and so he's been doing a lot of DJing,
Mhm.
and but he still plays guitar, and he still teaches like groups, like ensembles and stuff. But yeah, he does a lot of DJing stuff right now. He does like he'll do some DJing, then play the guitar and do like licks over it and stuff, and
Yeah.
DJ with the guitar, which is like I've never seen anyone do something like that really.
Yeah.
So it's like a
It's a
cool
good
thing.
way to kind of draw a crowd nowadays where a lot of people are into DJs. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
that's really cool that he's doing that.
yeah, and then let's see. I know Sarah, she's still singing in groups.
Still
Budge is
kicking
still
ass,
playing.
yeah.
Yeah, they're still Budge is still kicking ass as well. Um,
Nice.
Blake has that not sympathy. The orchestra.
Right, right.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can't remember the name of it. It's like, isn't it
Deseret
Des
sympathy. I can't even say that.
uh, Deseret Sympathy, yeah.
That's what it should be named. I was just joking, but yeah, he has the orchestra that he's doing, which is cool.
Yeah.
They've had a couple shows. But yeah, everyone's doing different things, and
Mm,
but it would be cool to do something like even if we just all got together to go out to eat or something. I know it's hard to get people's schedules together, but
yeah.
that'd be pretty cool. And I mean, regardless, when you're in town, we'll definitely have to figure something out. So
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like next time Fork Fest is going on, you gotta let me know and I'll see if I can make it out and we come
y-
check out some acts. That'd be cool.
yeah, I think it's in June usually.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, this hat, let's see, I can show you real quick. So
Oh,
this is
nice.
this is the logo for it.
That's really I like that the trees are like right there on the front. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I'll flip it
Nice.
back over so I can see.
Yeah.
That and I look a little cooler, right?
Yeah, your hat's backwards, like
Yeah, that typical Jax
yeah.
look thing. But well, I don't want to keep you too long because I'm sure you got other things to do as well. But I definitely wanted to catch up and you know re- reconnect, see what you were up to, and um, even though we can't always do this like all the time, like, but we should stay in touch more. I feel like, and after like right before COVID, like I was really like in a circle of a community of musicians and stuff and friends and stuff. I would bet I was better at keep reaching out, and then COVID
Mm,
happened, and everyone kind of like I don't know, got into their own little bubble, and like, yeah, you would interact with some people that maybe you were like living with or like in your really, really close circle. But then like
mm.
anyone that like moved away or whatever, it seems like everyone still like stayed in their bubble. I don't know. Did you feel
Yeah,
the same way or like,
definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think COVID really, I mean, it was different for me because I was one of the people that moved in the middle of COVID. So it's like, I feel like just naturally, it's always harder for people to keep in touch with somebody if they're not like generally close, especially somebody moving out of state. That's that amount of distance that can like make it so that you're not talking all the time. Like even if it's every week or even every month, it's kind of just every so often you see them do like a status update or something like that.
yeah,
But But I mean, I'm right there with you. I've been trying to reconnect with people and kind of be in touch a lot more, even if they're far away. Like technology makes it possible. So even if
Yeah, it
I'm slow
does.
about it, I try to keep in touch with people as much as I can. So yeah, I'll bug you every now and again. Don't
All
worry.
right, all right. Be like, what are you doing, you dumbass?
Yeah,
No, I mean, yeah, I definitely miss hanging out with all you guys and stuff, but
yeah.
it's been cool to talk and yeah, let's stay in touch and Izzy Thunder, thanks for being on the podcast. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me, man. It's been great. Great talking to you and catching up, man. It's
Yeah.
been awesome.
You too.